welcome back to HemiDroids.net. I'm going to have a simple race today. The Samsung Nexus S versus the Samsung Galaxy S2. The Nexus S is running CyanogenMod 7.0.2. The Galaxy S2 is still on the stock ROM, although it has been rooted. All I'm going to do, turn them on, we'll see which gets to the app drawer quickest. I would hope I know the answer already. On their way. Still doing a lot of thinking, the S2. The Nexus S is catching up while it's doing that. There it is. So it's closer than you might think. I think that a lot of the thinking by the S2 was while it was building up its list of apps, whereas the Nexus S opened the drawer and then started building the apps. So the S2 easily got to the home screen a lot quicker, but then had a big long pause while it was sorting out its apps. But it still edged out the Nexus S. HemiDroids.net. What I'm testing this morning is this speaker on the Samsung Galaxy S2. For comparison, I have the Samsung Nexus S, and I'm using a G2 to monitor the sound levels. You can see at the back there, as I make noise, the numbers change. The lower is actually the louder. If I do that, look, you see it go spike up, but the number comes down to -5. So we're going to try. A lot of people admit that the Nexus S had one of the best speakers that our phones had. The Galaxy S had a very good speaker as well. So we're going to start off with that one. So it was peaking at 18, it was generally around 38 there. Let me let that reset and then I'll start up the Galaxy S2. So as you can see, the S2 got up to a peak of 12. I'm just going to start with, while you're watching the meter, I'm going to start the Samsung Nexus S back up again.
Day and night, I toss and turn, I keep stressing my mind. I look for peace, but see I don't attain. What I need for keeps this silly game we play. Now look.
So it did touch on -12 as a peak. Let's go back to the Galaxy S2.
I look for peace, but see I don't attain. What I need for keeps this silly game we play. Now look at this. Madness, the magnet keeps attracting me. I try to run, but see I'm not that.
So I think you can see as a constant, so the Nexus S peaked up there at about 12, whereas the Galaxy S was fairly constantly at 12. I don't know how well you could tell on the video as well. You can just hear the S2 is much louder and clearer. Now, I'm not going to lie, it's not got loads of bass, it's not going to be the kind of thing you're going to have some kind of party using it, but for podcasts, I'll give you a quick demo of the podcast volume.
They're the early adopters, is what those people are. Early adopters. How many employees does Motorola have? They can just give them up. Right.
So I could look out the window and see where you are. I could follow you with a car and see where you are. Right. That information by itself is necessary.
The Nexus S, I mean, it's loud and clear and everything. And this is
They
almost...
sold them. Sold in. Probably.
almost
We
too
do
loud.
have finally a tablet,
Got the
right?
volume down
That
there.
is $400.
But I don't know
Is
if you can
less
hear
than the
that.
iPad.
It is just
Yes.
a lot louder and clearer.
So runs Honeycomb. Runs Honeycomb.
With my Nexus S, I normally listen to my podcast as I wake up in the morning and I'm making my breakfast. Everything's fine with the Nexus S until I put the kettle on. When that boils, I can't hear the Nexus S. I've noticed with the Galaxy S2, even with the kettle boiling, I can still hear this podcast playing.
Has a dual core processor. Right. It is a.
I was even in the shower and I could still hear the Galaxy S2. So, the new champion of the speakers, the Samsung Galaxy S2. I'm going to now do a browser test between the Samsung Nexus S and the Samsung Galaxy S2. Picked out 3 websites: hammerdroids.net, Metacafe and BBC Sport, fairly random, just to see how they get on. So we'll start with Hammerdroids. S2's jumped off to quite a good lead. It looks like it's almost done. There's the content. Now the Nexus S comes back into it. The S2's done. Scrolling away. Yeah, so it's a good, at least a second or so, I would say. Once we're there, doesn't seem to be this very smooth look from the S2. Very smooth. Oopsie. Anyway, let's move on to the next test. So Metacafe next. S2's done. That's interesting. Is it loaded a sponsor page or is that it? Maybe, okay. So the S2 did win, but I'm not quite sure what the Nexus S loaded. Let's do the final one, BBC Sport. Ooh, Nexus S looking better. No, but again, the content still appears in the S2 quicker. Oh. It does look like the Nexus S won that one. Which was interesting. The S2 seemed to sort of lag for a second. Okay, so I would give the edge to the S2 overall. That last one was a little bit odd, the BBC website. I don't know quite why it happened like that. Yeah, so that was quite a clear win for the S2. So, Nexus S didn't do bad at all, but the S2 did edge it, and I think has quite a bit smooth, well not quite a bit, but has a smoother browser experience as well. There we go. I'm going to try and do a GPS test. I don't know how well this will work because I am actually indoors. But let's see. I think it's going to ask me to turn GPS on first. Which we'll try and do at the same sort of time. There we go. Come back for both of them. The S2 is finding satellites. Oh my god, it's got to fix that quick. 9 out of 9. I'm indoors in my bedroom. The Nexus S has only just spotted 1 satellite. The S2's got 11. That really is quite impressive. Well, not much else to test, I suppose. That was quick and simple. S2 very impressive. That's the first time I've even run GPS status. I've only just installed it. I don't think I've used GPS on it much either, so I don't think it would, definitely not the last day or two. So that was very impressive. Galaxy S2 wins the GPS test easily. My name's Andy, hammerdroids.net.